Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Financial Lovemaking, where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between, and how to use money as a tool for building good things in your life as opposed to using it as a weapon for destruction. I'm here with my good, shiny, smiling, happy partner, Miss S. Tia Brown out of New York. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing really well, and I should tell people that there's a little bit of a delay, maybe 2 seconds between what I say and what she hears, so that's why you might see the delay, but that doesn't matter. You see it on TV all the time. Okay, so Tia, I want to ask you, you were mentioning something to me about Mekhi Phifer, the actor, and some financial troubles he was having. What's up with that? I thought Mekhi was rich.
You know, we assume that everyone who's on television and, has had a great career is not just doing well, but balling out of control and won't have any financial issues. But it's come to the public's attention recently, thanks to one of our favorite sites, TMZ, that Mekhi Phifer filed for bankruptcy. And I think it's shocking because Mekhi has been, a longtime actor and definitely not an A-lister, but strong D-list, had a steady body of work. He's been on hit shows such as ER. He was recently on House of Lies. He's in a new movie coming out. And he was in A Day Late, a Dollar Short on Lifetime. So people were very surprised to hear that someone who seemed, kind of low-key like Mekhi was filing for bankruptcy. Now, the interesting thing in his story is that, it's not that he's filing bankruptcy due to an exorbitant amount of debt. Now, when I tell you the numbers, I don't want you to cringe. No, but this is not exorbitant due to the amount of money that he probably makes. So he has $1.2 million in back taxes. He owes $50,000 in legal fees and about $4,500 in back child support. He's saying that, he rakes in about $8,000 a month, but only earns about $12,000. So, it's easy to see when the dollars don't add up how you can not only be in debt, but you can be in a tremendously difficult situation that you can't seem to get yourself out of. I thought this story was interesting because I think his story kind of represents what many Americans go through. You might have a steady career, you might have good income, but your spending just doesn't line up with how much you're earning. And this can happen due to an array of reasons, right? It can be a bad investment. It can be, a lot of low-level spending that just adds up. But it's something that a lot of households grapple with. So I think the lesson here to learn is, number one, it can happen to anyone. Number two, it's really important to stay on top of your financial anatomy. Know how much you bring in, know how much you need to put in different baskets, and know really what can help you maintain a lifestyle that will make you comfortable. And number two, that there is life after bankruptcy, right? Back in the day when people were told, about bankruptcy, there's this scarlet letter that's on your face and like you can't move forward. But things are very different today. You see people filing for bankruptcy with much lower numbers and rebuilding much more quickly. What are your thoughts, Boyce?
Well, I think that Mekhi is it's interesting. I've never seen Mekhi as the guy who, went out of his way to show he was balling out of control. But then again, just because he wasn't doing that publicly doesn't mean, it doesn't say much about what he was doing privately in his personal life. And again, I'm not even being critical of that one way or the other because we don't know. But one of the debt numbers that did get my attention was the $1.2 million in back taxes. That's a lot of money to owe the IRS, especially if you're only making $7,500 a month. And I say only not because that's not a lot of money. That's almost $100,000 a year. But imagine your pre-tax income being $100,000 a year, but yet you're faced with a tax burden of $1.2 million. That means that what I'm seeing is that somewhere along the way, something really got screwed up. I'd love to see how much Mekhi was making every year along the way, because it sounds like he's had a few years where maybe he cleared the $1 million mark for that year or whatever, and taxes weren't filed properly. The IRS is horrible. I mean, the IRS, there are at least a couple of reasons that people end up in serious financial trouble. One is, back taxes. Another is medical bills, because we live in a country where people can't afford to get sick. And that is one of the sad testaments to what's going on in the United States right now. And then the other area is educational debt. Educational debt is crushing people. I got something in my email this morning where someone was petitioning for educational affordability because it shouldn't cost you $30,000, $40,000 a year to go to school. That's crazy. So, when I look at this, I'm really curious. I would love to ask Mekhi, look, what happened? Did your accountant do something wrong when they filed your taxes? Did you neglect something along the way? Because what the IRS does also that really puts people in this ugly hole is they'll literally go back 4 or 5 years. And they'll say, okay, 5 years ago you were deducting this expense and you shouldn't have been deducting it, and we've looked at all the other years, and so you owe $30,000 for each year, and that you were filing improperly, so now you owe us $150,000. Write us a check right now. And that has devastated so many people, especially celebrities, where their fame and fortune become a trap. Because the more money you make, the deeper the hole you can end up digging with the IRS. So I almost think that the lesson I'm learning, or I'm seeing from what Mekhi went through, is that when it comes to taxes, you got to be really careful. You got to be truthful. You can't fudge the numbers, because the IRS gives the illusion that they work with an honor system where it's like you can just guesstimate how much you wrote off and just put it on your tax form, and magically you get this big refund. But when that auditor comes back at you, it can just be so ugly. So that's what I'm seeing. It's the child support number doesn't bother me. The lawyers' fees numbers don't bother me. We know lawyers cost way too much money. That tax number is like, holy crap. And I'm also wondering, I don't think that I got to double check this, but I don't think they let you bankrupt yourself on IRS debt, do they? I mean, the IRS doesn't let you get off that easy, do they?
Right. I think with the IRS, and again, I'm not an expert, you can negotiate how much you have to pay back, but I don't think they just eliminate it. Like with IRS debt and student loan debt, you're pretty much stuck with paying some sort of bill. So it'll be interesting to see how those things pan out. But I absolutely agree with you. You have to be so careful with who you're working with when your income fluctuates from year to year. And we know that happens often with celebrities, but this can often happen with an everyday Joe, the average Joe, if you have, let's say, a small business on the side, or if you work as a consultant, instead of, having a regular job where you file a W-2 form. You have to be extremely careful, because one wrong move can put you in a major hole.
Interesting. I want to answer this question. I should have known the answer maybe before, but I literally looked up whether or not you can file bankruptcy against IRS tax debt. It looks like it says that filing bankruptcy does stop the IRS from collecting tax debts. However, not all taxes are treated the same during bankruptcy. Also, bankruptcy it affects you differently depending on what type of bankruptcy you file, whether it's Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. So basically, the moment you file bankruptcy, an automatic stay is created. That means it stops most creditors, including the IRS, from initiating or continuing collection activities against you. So maybe there's a possibility that the IRS had told Mekhi, look, we're going to come and we're going to take your house, we're going to take your assets. Bankruptcy is typically filed by people that are trying to protect their assets. It's like a financial incubator, almost the way you incubate a baby and protect him from the elements until he gets big and strong. Now, whether you can wipe out tax debts during bankruptcy, let me tell you what it says here. Certain tax debts are dischargeable through bankruptcy, while others are not. Usually, you can discharge older income tax obligations where a return was due at least 3 years ago. You actually filed the return over 2 years ago. The IRS assesses the tax at least 240 days ago, and you did not commit any fraud or tax evasion. Okay, so it looks like
that's a lot of layers to have to prove true.
Right, exactly. Now, and they say Chapter 7, this is on nolo.com, just so you know, it's a legal website, NOLO. So a Chapter 7 bankruptcy wipes out your dischargeable tax debts. However, if you have priority taxes that cannot be wiped out, Chapter 7 will only provide you with temporary relief from the IRS. In now Chapter 13, you can pay off your priority tax debts through a repayment plan over 3 to 5 years, as long as you continue to make your bankruptcy payments. So it looks like Mekhi is able to get away. I'm surprised that the IRS does let you declare bankruptcy on some of your taxes, because it's funny, they protect the student loan debt. Like student loan debt, it's hard to get rid of that unless you die. I mean, there are other ways you can get, some debt forgiveness sorts of things going on, but for the most part, student loan debt kind of stays with you. But it appears, so I assume that tax debt was the same way, but it appears that actually bankruptcy does help with the IRS. I think that's why Mekhi is filing. I don't think he ain't filing over $4,500 in child support. When you're an actor of that magnitude, you can make that money from one speech, one quick job, etc. He's not filing over the $50,000 in lawyers' fees. He's filing over that IRS tax debt. And really, depending on how diligent the IRS to come in collecting that money, and the fact that the burden is just so high, that really does say to me that Mekhi was like, I need to protect myself. I need relief. So I actually think bankruptcy was a good move. I think also the other lesson I learned from this, or we can all learn from this, besides the IRS issue, is just the general idea that it can happen to anybody. A lot of people think that because as you mentioned, they think that because their career is steady and they got money steadily flowing, that they don't have to actually prepare for the worst. And that's like getting water out of a faucet, and you're not saving any water in case the faucet stops flowing. So when it stops flowing, you can die from starvation, or not starvation, die from thirst pretty quickly. So when that water's flowing good, you pull out that bucket, you save, so put some in the fridge, you save it for later, just in case the faucet stops flowing. That's my 2 cents.
I absolutely agree. I think that's more than 2 cents. That's more like $1 worth of information. Thank you so much, Boyce. As always, it's great chatting with you. And of course, we're looking forward to hearing what our listeners and viewers have to say. So please write into us. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye-bye.